your scheduling of your time for those of us who are early morning or late morning, or, you know, to just those boundaries?
Fabulous question. I just was reading today, and I've known this for a long time, but it's nice to see that it's starting to come out in publications like the Harvard Business Review, that these open office spaces that were the rage as when did they start? Like 6, 7, 8 years ago, everyone was going open office space. And people were excited, and the CEO doesn't have walls in his office anymore or her office anymore, and everyone's going to collaborate, right? It's collaboration. Well, anyone who's worked in an open office space will know that for very few people is that really an effective way to work, right? You don't have quiet. People can hear what you're talking about. Hard to think for many of us, you know? The list goes on and on with all the problems. So a couple of things. In terms of boundary setting, I think communication, direct communication is the most effective. So if you have people around you who randomly and when they need to will come sit next to you and say, oh, let me tell you about this, or hey, how was the weekend? Or, you know, whatever it might be, I would let them know in advance, hey, I'm working really hard, and you say it very politely, you know, it's not confrontational. I've decided I'm working really hard on being as productive as I can when I'm here in this space, and sometimes it's hard for me because I enjoy being around you and this person and that person, and there's so much we can be talking about. But would you mind if we schedule a 20-minute coffee at 10:30, like on Wednesdays? And maybe it's more than that. But that way we can make sure we're staying connected. We're talking about issues in real time as they arise. We're not letting them, you know, cook too long. And we can talk prior if there's something really urgent. This is rhetorical permission, by the way. You're saying, would you mind? What's the person say? Yeah, I mind. I want to talk to you all the time whenever I want to talk to you. It's rhetorical permission. So that's a kind of boundary setting. Some people do it physically. They put on noise-canceling headphones. And again, I think it's helpful to tell people why. You know, because if I walk into the office and all of a sudden I've got headphones, you're going to be like, what? I'm not that loud. She doesn't want to talk to me, you know. Or what's she listening to? I want to hear some of that. But if you say, hey, you know what? I'm the kind of person, I can't concentrate with ambient noise. So I'm just going to be putting these on so I can get my work done a little bit better and more quickly and more effectively. So you set the stage. So there are things like that you can do. I talk to my clients all the time about protecting their time. If you don't protect your time, you will have no time. You will be scheduled once, twice, 3 times over. And so to put things in your calendar like Monday mornings, Wednesday afternoons, Friday evenings, whatever time you think you need, an hour, 90 minutes, half hour if you're really in a crunch, that you will not accept meeting requests unless it's a true and utter emergency. But that is your thinking time. It's what I call a strategic pause. But it's strategic. If you're not just kicking your feet up, you're getting poised, you're getting relaxed, you're letting creativity come in, you're finishing up something that's really important to get done then without distraction. You build it in. And by the way, I also encourage my clients all the time at the beginning of a year or at some point in the year, block out your personal time. I have executives who have 6 weeks off a year and they don't have any of the blocks on the calendar. Well, how much of those weeks will they really be using? A week, maybe? Put your calendars put your vacations on your calendar. Put your doctor appointments on your calendar. Put your kids' events or your family's events on your calendar. Put your professional developments on your calendar. And don't let anyone steal it away from you. It's important. These are not luxuries. These are not indulgences. They're really important. So helpful a little bit? Does that give you some ideas? Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today. You have a lot of experience working with these more senior individuals at their organizations, CEOs. Speaking from like young professional point of views, we might not be as senior in our organizations. Can you talk more about, you know, managing your manager and the tactics you use to bring, you know, difficult conversations to people more senior?
Yes. Did you want to build on that?
Add to it? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
So basically, just like how do we deal with difficult co-workers, I guess, when your personalities don't really match up. Difficult co-workers, and then like again, like building a relationship with like a senior CEO.
Thank you, guys. These are really important questions. And I will tell you this, it applies to CEOs just as it does to young professionals. With CEOs, it might be how do they manage relationships with their other executives that are on their leadership team, with the board, with investors, et cetera. So it's really, truly, it sounds cliche, but it is all about the relationships. Because if you don't have relationships, if they're not strong and trusting and credible, then you cannot influence how other people think or what other people do. So the more you can come, for instance, let's talk about your boss for a minute. The more you can come to your boss proactively. No boss likes when all they hear is, oh, whoops, I missed a deadline, or oh, this big problem's about to explode, or guess what, it already happened. The more proactive you can be, and the more you can show up with ideas and something that the boss can like utilize right away, ways to help, or if you don't have an idea, say, listen, I've given this a lot of thought, I would love your advice on what I do next. But those kinds of confident, value-full, trusted conversations, proactive, consistent, not just fighting the fire of the day, all of that will help you build a strong, healthy relationship with your boss. And I will say this as well, if you have opportunity to work with a mentor in the organization who's not your boss, who doesn't write your performance review, has nothing to do with the way you're evaluated, that's a really great thing to do in your organization and outside of your organization. I have business mentors. I've been working with mentors for the last 30 years. So I really encourage you. It doesn't always have to be the same person, but that's really helpful. And in terms more generally of dealing with difficult people in the office, again, the more you can build a strong, healthy relationship when things are fine, the much easier it will be to navigate when things aren't fine. But if you already have people in the office and you're giving each other the hairy eyeball every time you see each other, and then something bad happens, it becomes awfully difficult to resolve it. You have to try and protect time to build those strong relationships. It doesn't mean you become best friends. It doesn't mean you go out to coffee together all the time. You don't have to get together as families, but you have to have respect for one another. And you don't have to love each other, but you have to at least like something, a little something about that person, if it's going to be a strong, healthy relationship. And that's really the key. I'll tell you what, businesses have different strategies, they have different market positions, they have different leadership, they have different industries, but at the end of the day, the strongest, most successful companies are successful because the people leading them and running them are doing a great job as people, communicating, setting expectations, forming great relationships, being trustworthy, being ethical, making good decisions, slowing down long enough that what they do is strategic and not haphazard, and that they're creating change, not just getting out, trying to catch up to it. Can't catch up to change. You have to create it. You have to get out ahead of it. We have time for maybe one more question. Anything else? I want to say to you guys, first of all, thank you. These kinds of talks are, for me, 1,000 times more interesting and fun when I have an audience like you that is interested and curious and sharing your experience, and that makes it great. So I really want to thank you for that. Slowing down doesn't mean you just kick your feet up and eat some bonbons. Every now and then it's fun to do that, but every now and then. Slowing down does sometimes mean taking time out for personal wellness, personal care, decompressing, not working, shutting off the laptops, not having the phone next to your head when you sleep at night because maybe you need to see an email at 2 a.m. I mean, is there anyone in this room that's going to get called in to do brain surgery at 2 in the morning and has to have the phone there? Seriously, I don't want to diminish what any of us does. It's all important. But none of us has to rush out and save a life at 2 in the morning. So put your phone away from your brain, let your brain rest, take care of yourselves, think strategically about what you need to do to keep growing in your career, to keep being recognized and successful in your business, to maintain some sort of nice integration between what you do outside of the home and what you bring back to your home. And think, how is it that I am going to walk away from here today and do one thing differently, just one thing for now, that's going to allow me to slow down long enough to really speed up. I wish you guys tremendous continued success, and thank you so much for being here.